Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Be a Better You podcast. I am your host, Allison K. Dagny, and for those of you who are just tuning in and who don't know me, I am a survivor of 20 years of emotional abuse, and I am a subconscious reprogramming coach, and I help women recover from emotional abuse. I turned my story of trauma into triumph, and I have 2 best-selling books out there that you can read if you're interested in. And I'm here every week to help you with these issues that you're struggling with. And because it's December and we are in like the midst of the holidays, I wanted to come on here and talk about something that happens a lot to especially survivors of abuse, this rescuing thing. And so I'm going to help you stop trying to rescue everyone and stop being the savior. So if this time of year turns you into everybody's rescuer, like you're constantly jumping in to try to make everything okay because it's the holidays and the holidays are supposed to be happy, right? Well, this episode is for you because this is something that comes up for a lot of people who have experienced emotional abuse. Some of the things that are going to come up here are going to exhaust you, like over-functioning, trying to do too much, over-giving, right? Just because it's the holidays. Overspending, managing everybody's emotions, right? All of this is something that's going to make the holidays less enjoyable, not more. Okay, so if you're somebody who wants more joy in your life, which I would assume that you do, then let's stop turning the rescuing into a holiday tradition. Let's end that tradition today. All right, so I want you to stay with me too because something I'm going to share a little bit later in the episode is the year that I didn't put up a Christmas tree. This was a couple of years ago. I'm going to tell you the story and how my kids and friends and people on the internet had stuff to say about it because I posted about it on my Instagram and Facebook. And it actually became one of the biggest turning points in my healing because it was actually the first time I didn't rescue everybody from their discomfort. I let them sit in it. So if you're like, ugh, like how, like what are you doing, right? If this is already stinging a little bit for you, then this is exactly what we're going to uncover in a free 30-minute root cause call too. I'm going to help you with any of the things that you're struggling with. Okay? But we're going to get into that story in a little bit. Let's talk about this holiday savior complex, okay? What basically this is and what I'm talking about here is becoming a fixer of everybody's emotions. And if you're like, I am a fixer, I always try to fix it. Okay, well I'm speaking to you, okay? When you are being a fixer, right, you're not really letting people experience their own feelings or discomfort or adversity, okay? You don't want that to happen. You can't stand it. It bothers you. If you're taking on responsibility for everyone else's feelings, this is also holiday savior kinds of behavior. If people are upset and you're like, oh, we need to raise the vibration and get everybody cheery, right? Because maybe it makes you uncomfortable. Maybe you feel like the holiday depends on you. If it weren't for you, there would be no decorations. There would be no Christmas tree. There would be no presents, right? So you take on this identity of the savior, okay? And I think this is kind of funny because if you're a Christian person and you believe in Jesus, not everyone does, but if you do, who's the savior? Jesus is, right? Not you. Okay, just going to give it to you real. I'm feeling a little sassy today. All right, so why do survivors do this? Let's talk about that. Well, number one, usually it stems from something from way back when in your childhood. This conditioning, right? This is usually where it stems from. And then we carry it into our adult relationships and those dynamics. You might have experienced a lot of chaos as a child, around other people's feelings, emotions, like you have to walk eggshells to make sure everyone's okay. If people aren't happy, maybe you have to be the one to make jokes or lighten the mood or get people to feel better, right? So this kind of childhood conditioning, that's something that you would have to look at for yourself and trace back. But this is something that you may feel like you are responsible for making the holidays happy, okay? If you grew up in a very chaotic household or a very chaotic family, depending on where you were in the order of birth, like if you're an only child versus the oldest versus the middle versus the youngest, right? Like, who was responsible for making sure everybody was happy? Who was responsible for making sure things were okay? Who was the one causing the problems, right? So if you are the one who was always having to make sure that people were happy and that things went smoothly, or maybe you witnessed your parents do this and you watched your mom or your dad like run around ragged trying to make everything okay for everybody, right? You might learn something from that. This is all like how our patterns are developed in our brain, not just from like what we did, but what we witnessed, what we believed was the right way without question. Like we don't even think about it or question it. Sometimes this is rooted in this like belief that if I keep everybody happy, then I'm safe, right? It runs into this thing you're probably familiar with walking eggshells. So if in an abusive relationship you had to walk eggshells all the time, right? Well, you're doing it because if you don't wake an angry sleeping dragon, then you're going to be safe. So it's safer to walk the eggshell. So it's similar here too when it comes to being the savior around the holidays. Some of this also can have to do with trauma bonding, which you guys know I hate that word, but I'm going to use it because most people understand what it is. In that, let's say, for instance, in my marriage, when I was married, I was in a perpetual trauma bond for like 20 years. And we never really ever broke up or, anything until the very, very end. But that cycle was still like the devalue or the idealize, the devalue and discard continually. Right. So this, even around holidays, it was like, oh my gosh, like if I just do something really great around Christmas time or around holidays, and if I just go above and beyond, right, then I'm going to be idealized again. They're going to see just how amazing that I am, and then it'll pull me out of that discard, and then I'll be back up on the pedestal where I like to be. But then obviously that will keep cycling, right? That's what that cycle does. It just keeps you in this loop. You may also have like just general social pressure or cultural kinds of pressures. Like the moms are always the one that have to do the elf on the shelf. The moms are always the ones that have to do the Christmas presents. The moms are always the ones that have to get all the food together. The moms have to fill the stockings. Like this is the kind of thing, like not that that's a reality, but that's a lot of times what the perception is. And then we fill in that role. So, and if you're listening and you're not a mom, or you're listening and you're a man, there are pressures also for you. I'm not, certain of like exactly what those are, but there's also pressures for you to be a savior depending on the role that you're in and depending on what that societal or cultural pressure is. Okay. And it could vary based on your family dynamic too. Like maybe in your family, the men always do a certain kind of thing. And if they don't do it, then Christmas is ruined, like putting the bikes together before the kids wake up in the morning or like whatever, right? Okay. So let me just say it like this. When you are presenting yourself as a savior, you might not be doing it consciously, right? It's unconscious behavior. It's from all these old wounds, all these old patterns, right? And from some perspectives and some vantage points, it looks noble. It looks good. But what we're missing here is that it's also, in some ways, self-abandonment. Okay? Or self-betrayal. And this is tough because I know that some of you are like, yeah, but I want my kids to have a happy Christmas. And yeah, but I want people to enjoy the holidays. So I have to do it, right? Well, that's where my story is going to come in here in a little bit. Okay, so let's shift over here to how this shows up with you as an adult, being this holiday savior, right? Well, what you might do is you might try to manage your partner's attitude. Let's say you're in an abusive relationship right now, or maybe you have been in the past. This is going to trickle into your current relationships, even if you're not with that person anymore. But maybe you are managing their attitude so they don't ruin the holiday. I remember this happening all the time because my ex-husband hated going anywhere except for his mom's house. He didn't want to go to my dad's. He didn't want to go to my mom's. He didn't want to do anything other than be with his parents. So his bum attitude came up every time we had to get ready to leave to go to my family. And so I would try to like make things happy or, try to do what he wanted. And if he only wanted to stay for an hour, then I had to really, watch the clock and make sure we didn't stay too long, right? Because I didn't want him to ruin the holiday. I didn't want his attitude and his annoyances to like bleed over and like ruin it for everyone. So like managing their behavior. Right now, this doesn't happen anymore. I'm not with this person anymore. But I remember when I was first with my new partner after this, how that was still kind of a leftover like feeling. It was like, oh, are you okay staying this long at my mom's? Or, oh, are you okay if we go here this day or that day? Like, and I was so worried because it was old trauma. Now my new partner's like, yeah, why are you asking me this? Like, that's normal. And I'm like, well, because of like my ex he would always get upset, or he wouldn't want to stay very long, or he'd be watching the clock, or he'd be texting me, be like, when are we leaving? Right? So these like kind of leftover things can happen if you've been used to that. So you need to be aware of that too, that you can give up this role. You can give up this like savior role, especially if you're not in the relationship anymore. Okay. Maybe this shows up for you if you're like the person who has to like dissolve the family tension. Like if there's like people who have different political beliefs or different just general like moralistic kinds of things, and you feel like you have to be the go-between to kind of manage the tension and keep everybody happy, or like, oh, well, I'll just change the subject, or like that sort of thing, right? Because you're uncomfortable with the feelings, or you're uncomfortable with the dynamic, right? And I'm going to get into, how we can start to shift this, because really what it's about is being responsible and accountable for your own feelings and not worrying about other people's. You're not responsible for other people's emotions. If nobody's ever told you that, then I'm going to tell you right now. Maybe you do this overspending thing to make everybody else feel good, to, max out your bank account or your credit cards and empty your bank account just to make everybody else feel festive, or, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And like to make sure you look like you've got it all together. You're making sure everyone's happy, right? And again, I'm not saying you shouldn't do things to make people happy. That's not the point of this. The point of this is to show you that sometimes you might be doing things and you are sacrificing yourself because you want to manage the feelings, the festivities, the emotions of everybody else around you for your own comfort level. A hard truth that sometimes I have to tell people in my client sessions, like one-on-one, is that you've got to be comfortable in the discomfort. And that's tough, especially if you're not used to it, especially if you've never really done it your whole life, if you're the manager of the feelings, right? But the truth is you can't manage other people's feelings. You might try, but like their feelings are their feelings. Just like nobody can like change how you feel. Right? Okay. Hosting holiday dinners, planning things, planning trips, the out of town, excursions, the holiday events, cooking, organizing, cleaning, right? All these things, and doing it all by yourself, right? Wrapping the gifts, doing the shopping. Like I used to do this all the time. I did it all. I had to when I was with my ex. I don't do it anymore. I don't. I share the load with my family and my partner. Like we share the load. I don't do it all by myself. But I used to, because I would show up as the savior. I'm like, look at all the things that I did. Everybody's going to be happy. I'm going to make everything wonderful, right? And again, I'm not saying you shouldn't be some like magical Christmas fairy around the holidays. Like if you like to do that, like go right ahead. But make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Make sure you're not doing it just to kind of avoid discomfort, That's the thing, okay? Maybe you jump in and try to fix things that you didn't break. And I don't mean like actual things, but maybe there's like dynamics, arguing, difficulties with siblings or parents or things like that around the holiday time. And like you're trying to like patch it all up for everybody, right? This is how it shows up with adults. We're taking these old things from our past and like dragging it into the present. So remind yourself this. You are not like the holiday fixer. You're not the holiday therapist. Okay? You're definitely not here to babysit other people's emotions. They're adult people. They should be managing their own emotions. But a lot of people don't know this, and most people don't operate this way because they just want to feel better now. So it's getting comfortable in the discomfort. And like this is the kind of thing I help my clients do, whether it's about the holidays or whether it's about the divorce they're about to tell their husband, whether it's about something totally different, right? This is how I help my clients is we have to get out of these old patterns and we have to become the emotionally mature person in our adult relationships now and quit trying to manage everyone else's feelings. Okay. Again, I told you I was feeling a little feisty today, so sorry. Just going to be me. Okay, so let's talk about how this shows up with the children, okay? So I don't want to be like shaming here or like make anybody feel bad if you're doing any of these things. This is about awareness. This is about knowing what you do without doing things on autopilot. Get yourself out of zombie mode. I will be the first one to raise my hand that I have done these things, okay? And I am a parent. If you feel guilty about things, like let's say that you recently left your ex and you're getting a divorce and now you want to overcompensate out of that guilt, buy them a bunch of stuff, take them to Disneyland, do all these things, right? Out of the holiday time because you are trying to overcompensate for the guilt that you feel. You need to work on the guilt. You need to release that. Overcompensating doesn't release the guilt. It'll just be like a temporary Band-Aid for it. And probably, especially if you're doing things like financially, it's going to drain your bank account. With the kids, like if you are like, instead of actually like sitting down and having difficult conversations with them, just buying them things or gifting them things, right? As almost like an avoidance, right? I don't need to face this or look at it. Here's this gift. I don't need to look at this, right? Another one would be like taking on their emotions, like if they're upset about something, disappointed, sad, or whatever, like, and making that your failure, like that you messed up. Now, if you did mess up, that's one thing, right? And if you did, you should apologize and you should own it and you should take accountability, right? If you did something to upset your children around the holidays, if that was like a direct impact to them, it directly hurt them, right? But like, if they're just bummed out because they have to go to, let's say, mom's house for a little while and then dad's house because now we're in a divorce situation and they're really upset about it, that's not your failure and that's not yours to own. Okay? Yeah, the situation of quote unquote the divorce, the breakup, or the split, right? Maybe this is the first holiday that they're experiencing at two separate households. Or maybe this is the first time that they're not seeing you because maybe you split year to year, right? Well, if that's happening and they're upset and you're taking this on as like, oh, I'm a failure or I failed them, right? That's going to come out as like a lot of shame for you. And this just isn't true. This could also, so like if you're taking it on, like, oh, it is my failure, la, 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 like then again, right, what are you doing? You're being the savior, okay? You can let them feel their feelings. You can let them feel their emotions and have conversations with them, even the hard ones. Maybe you are like either avoiding their feelings, avoiding their disappointment. Like one is taking them on, but this one is like ignoring them, ignoring their feelings or emotions. Because if you acknowledge it, maybe you feel like it's going to ruin everything, or the holidays are going to be bad or whatever, right? And that's not healthy either. So you feel like, oh, I just will avoid it so that I can make sure the holidays are good, right? So then in that regard, you're actually saving Christmas or saving the holidays or whatever you celebrate. Because I've got to avoid this so that I can make everything okay, right? And that's not healthy either. We got to face these fears. We got to face the discomfort. And then also maybe like trying to protect them from things that no one protected you from, like emotions and feelings that nobody protected you from, so that you step up. You're like, oh, like if I couldn't do this for them or take them here or get them that, right? If you felt like you didn't want to feel those feelings when you were a kid and nobody protected you from them, you might try to do that to your kids. You might try to come in as the savior there. But that's not healthy to do, right? Protecting people from emotions and feelings is not actually not protecting them at all. It's robbing them. It's robbing them of experiencing real emotion, real feelings, adversity, learning opportunities, right? So what we sometimes dress up these things and call it protection, when really we're just trying to mitigate our feelings so we don't have to feel it. We don't have to feel bad. We don't have to feel guilty, right? We have to face this stuff. This is important. So when you rescue your kids from every hard feeling, every bit of adversity, every negativity, you know what you're teaching them? You're teaching them you can't handle it. You can't handle life. Somebody else needs to fix this for you, right? Like, I remember when I was a kid that pretty much nothing was ever a big deal. Like if I did something wrong, quote unquote, or bad, it was like, oh, it's okay. We're not going to worry about it. It's fine. Moving on, right? And this has impacted me. I didn't realize it until probably, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, actually. I didn't realize how much that impacted me. Because it's like, oh, we don't need to look at these things. We don't need to deal with these bad things, right? Well, it's okay. You don't need to worry about it, right? So if you're always rescuing your kids and you're always like pushing stuff under the rug and not facing it, you're actually teaching them they can't handle it. They don't have to, because you just rescued them from it, okay? And that is not going to help them. That is not going to help them. I'm just going to be real with you. It is not. Okay? It has harmed me when I think about it. It has harmed me. And I've had to now work through my own mental things to heal from that. Okay? It might seem nice. Oh, your parents, they were so nice. They just, oh, yeah, you don't have to worry, blah, blah, blah. Oh, you broke this thing? Okay, that's okay. We'll fix it. Like, what did I learn from that? You know what I learned? I learned that nothing's a big deal. Everything's fine. Oh, we can get over it, right? Nothing's taken seriously. And that is not right. That is not right, because it robbed me of opportunities to learn and to grow and to be accountable. Because I'll tell you what, that was really hard for me to admit when I was wrong, to admit I made mistakes, right? That was really hard for me for a long time, because I never really had to do it. I didn't learn how to do it. It was like, oh, no, I don't have to worry about that. Okay? So if this is hitting home for you, any of these kinds of themes, and this doesn't even have to be just about the holidays, right? Just like in general, right? Look at what's under the surface. And if you need help with that, you can schedule one of those root calls with me, and I'll help you figure out what's at the root of your patterns. Okay, so let's talk about my Christmas story. I'm excited to tell you about this. But just as a reminder, like when you rescue people from their feelings, when you rescue people from problems, if you aren't allowing people to face adversity or deal with difficulties, right? That's actually costing you your peace, your energy, your authenticity, your realness. Like that's what it's costing you. you're hopping in and you're rescuing, you're the savior, right? But it's actually costing you. You might not realize it in the moment, but it is. Because what it does is it keeps you in these roles that aren't yours to be in. It's draining your nervous system. And for some people, it makes you resentful. It makes you resent the people that you're trying to help. Look what I did. Look at all these things I did. Look how hard I work. Look at all these things. I helped you, blah, blah, blah. Right? Like, and then you start resenting people. And maybe even resenting your own partners, your own children. And that's not an energy any of us want to be in. So my story is a couple years ago. This was right before I moved. We were moving from one house to another in the same subdivision. I just happened to build a house at the back of the subdivision. And the timing of this was we were going to be moving in like February. But we'd already like started the building process and everything. So like in the summertime, I knew ahead of time we were going to be moving in February. We had a closing date and everything. So when the holidays started coming up, November, December is reaching, I'm like, ooh, I'd already been packing. I was like already packing stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to put up a Christmas tree. I don't want to get out all my boxes of decorations. I don't want to drag everything out of storage just to like turn around, pack it up again right before February to leave. I was already taking on a lot for the move. And this was my boyfriend didn't live here. So it was just me. Half the time my kids were there. And they did help me. But I was just like, you know what? I'm not going to do this. I don't want to do this. My kids were not happy. They were not happy, especially my middle daughter because Christmas is her favorite holiday. I had some friends chime in. They were like, what? Why would you do that? Like, how could you go Christmas without decorating on a tree? I could never do that. Like people acted like we were skipping Christmas. We weren't. I was just not decorating and putting up a tree. There just wasn't going to be all the ambiance. And I know that's a big part of the holidays for people. But I had even put this on my Instagram and Facebook, and I took a picture of my living room and I drew with like the drawing tool a Christmas tree on the image, right? So it's just like this little chicken scratch Christmas tree and posted it like, this is my Christmas tree this year because I'm not putting one up. And people were like, whoa, like people were shocked in the comments too. Like I committed like a freaking Christmas felony or something. Like I just didn't want to put up a tree. It was too much. And I had to trust myself. But even amidst the pressure, I didn't budge. And you know what else I did? I told my kids, I said, if you guys want to get the stuff out and decorate and put it away because it matters to you that much, be my guest. But guess what? They didn't want to. They didn't want the work. They just wanted to feel the benefits of my work. So we didn't put the tree up. We didn't get the decorations out. And here's the thing. I didn't guilt myself into doing it anyway. I didn't be like, oh, I should just do it, blah, blah, blah. I didn't try to rescue them from their disappointment. I wasn't decorating for social media approval. I wasn't decorating for my friends' approval, right? It's my house, the house I live in, the house I see every day. So everybody's going to have their opinions. Everybody's going to have their own feelings. And guess what? I let them have them. I'm not trying to manage them just because they feel uncomfortable with my choice. So that was the first year that I realized that I am not performing for the holidays anymore. I am not going to be the emotional project manager for everybody else. That I am done rescuing people from these kinds of emotions that they're capable of handling. And that was proof. That was like the felt safety that I needed in that moment. That even if I don't do this, like everybody's able to manage their own feelings and emotions. And so now, how does that look? We're putting up a tree now. Like we put one up last year too. We decorate all of that stuff. But like, you know what? When people are like, you need to come to my house for the holidays. And I'm just like, no, I'm not doing that. If you want to come over, you can come to our house. Like I just set the rules. Like, and it's not like I'm trying to be too rigid or inflexible or anything like that. But like, okay, we've been to your house the last 3 years. You can come to my house this time, right? I'm sorry if you're uncomfortable with that, but like, I'm done rescuing people. You're responsible for your feelings, not me. Okay? Okay, so for me, my peace is more important than other people's opinions. That's just the way it is for me. It's more important to me. My sanity is more important than what other people expect of me. Okay? And the truth of whatever the situation is always more important than other people's comfort. And I'm talking like emotional comfort, right? Because if people come over and they are in my house, like, I'm going to be kind and warm and host and all of that. That's not really where I'm going with this. I'm hoping you're seeing that like the internal things like peace and sanity and truth are superior to all these other things. And if you're not seeing that and you're resisting it, you got to ask yourself why. What's going to happen if I do this? People aren't going to like me. People are going to reject me. People are going to think I'm a Scrooge or the Grinch or I'm mean or that I hate Christmas, right? What is it? What is it that if you let people be themselves, have their feelings, right? Experience difficulties, experience disappointment, experience upset. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Like, oh, everybody's so afraid to feel their feelings. Why? And I can tell you, I used to be one of these people, so that's why I can say this to you now. I wanted to manage everyone's feelings. I wanted to make sure everybody was okay. I wanted to make sure people weren't angry or upset or fighting or arguing or any of that stuff. Now I just sit back and watch, and I don't let it affect my peace because that's paramount. Okay? So, what about if we could give yourself a permission slip to stop doing this, right? Here's some things. Adults get to manage their own moods. Oh, Granny's angry because, somebody forgot to bring her favorite dish. Well, Granny can sulk in the corner, right? Adults are there to manage their own feelings. It's no one else's feelings. Oh, this family's upset because you didn't come and eat their dinner. Okay, well, they can be upset. That's okay. That's not your job to fix it. You can walk away from chaos anytime that you want. If you don't like the dynamic that's happening, you can leave. You can even choose not to put up a Christmas tree. You can choose not to bring that same dish you bring every year if you're just tired of it. You can choose to do your holidays however you want and make them simple. You don't have to rescue everybody. What do you really want? And if you're like, I love making the pecan pie I make every year. Everyone loves it and raves about it. Great, bring it. What if you're just sick of it and you're like, ew, I don't want to make this anymore. I'm just going to go to the grocery store and buy something and bring something that's pre-made. Why? Because everybody's going to be disappointed and everybody's going to be sad because you didn't bring your pie, your famous pie, right? Why are you the rescuer? Why do you have to do this all the time? Especially if you don't want to. If you want to, fine, go for it, right? You can say no without explaining yourself too. This is important. You don't owe people an explanation. Why didn't you want to bring your dish? You bring it every year. Why didn't you want to? I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I have a lot going on. You don't have to say anything. You're just like, I just felt like going to the store today. I just felt like bringing this instead. That's it. Because I didn't want to. You don't owe anybody an explanation. Okay? There's a lot of power in that. The other thing is, you don't have to do the traditions that you don't want to do or that don't feel good to you. Okay? A lot of times we roll into these traditions and we think we have to do them, and we don't have to do them. Just because they're traditions doesn't mean you have to do them. Maybe you're like, I hate this. I don't like this. I don't want to do it. Make the decision, right? And don't just do things because you want to be the savior or you want to make everybody feel okay or you want people to be happy. People are responsible for their own happiness, not you. You can do less if you want to. And I'm not saying you have to, but you can. Give yourself permission. You can rest if you want to. You don't have to attend every single holiday party you're invited to. You can just say no. Oh, people are going to be upset. They're going to be disappointed. I should come. I'm always the life of the party. People are going to be sad, right? Okay, well, they're going to have to deal with that. That's not your job. It's not your job. Okay. So here are some like little verbiages that can help you if this comes up for you and you're like, yes, I'm kind of feeling like this. I'm feeling excited about maybe like standing my ground on some of these things or stop rescuing people. Maybe you're feeling inspired. Maybe this, you can use this one with your kids. Like, for instance, they want to decorate and they want your help, and you're like, your 8-year-old is like trying to drag the box up from upstairs, is whining, Mom, help me. I trust that you can handle that, right? Give empowerment to them. Let them feel like they can do it, right? Somebody asks you to bring, something to the holiday dinner or whatever. That doesn't work for me this year. That's fine. You don't have any explanations. You could just say that, right? Maybe you use it in kind of a joking manner. Maybe you're always the one in the mediator middle, right? When people are arguing. And maybe you just kind of laugh and throw your hands up and say, I'm not available to mediate this year. Passing the baton to so-and-so, right? Or whatever, right? Like, you just opt out. You're opting out. Because you don't need to be the rescuer. You can also give people permission to do things like how I did with my kids, right? If it matters to you, you can do it. I have no problems with that. If it's important to you, you can plan it, right? If people are always expecting you to host the parties or you to plan and do everything. Okay, I'm not available for that this year, but feel free to do that on your own time if that matters to you, right? This is also some boundary stuff. So if you are struggling with boundaries, scroll back down to like episode 19, and there is an episode on setting healthy boundaries without guilt or fear. So if that's coming up for you and that like nervous energy about that, then go back to episode 19 and listen to that. So like, even if saying some of these things like I just said, like, I trust you can handle that, or like, that doesn't work for me. If saying these things out loud makes your stomach tighten a little bit or makes your throat kind of seize up, right? That's your conditioning. It's saying, nope, I can't do that. Nope, I can't say that. Nope, that's something bad's going to happen, right? This is conditioning. This is programming. And these are the things that we undo inside my one-on-one emotional healing mastery program. So schedule that free root cause call and we can uncover these kinds of things for you. So I want to leave you with a tool that you can use to help you as you're leading into the holidays. If you're feeling like you need to be the rescuer, if you feel like you are scared to implement some of these phrases or take some of these stances, like, you don't have to do everything. Like, just kind of lean into what really aligns with you and your life. But one of the things that you can do is create a safety resource for yourself. And all this is you are just thinking about either a person, a place, a location, an item, even a fantasy place that you can make up in your head where you can feel really safe. Okay, so if you don't have safe people in your life, or you never did, maybe a grandparent or a stuffed animal in your room or something when you were little, like, what made you feel really safe? And like I said, if you don't have a real safety anchor, then you can look at like a made-up scenario in your mind, right? Like, you're lying on a beach and there's seagulls and the sun is shining and the water is, and you just feel like you're just totally supported and safe, right? You can come up with this scenario in your mind too. So the purpose of this is that when you start feeling anxious, you start feeling worried, you start feeling like you got to rush or hurry or rescue or relieve, then you go into this memory. So you close your eyes and then you just breathe really gently, and then you just call this back to your mind, this memory, and you just sit here in the safety. You're just anchoring yourself into the present moment with something that has felt safe to you, or something that you can create that could feel safe to you. Like I said, in a fantasy one, but like, I have one from when I was real young, and every time that I feel like unsafe or unsteady, I just go back to that space. I close my eyes, I breathe into it, and I just remember exactly where I was and what it felt like, and the sounds and all of the things. It just helps you like recenter. And I know holidays can be stressful. My last episode last week was about Stressmas. So if you haven't listened to that, you can listen to that. But I hope that if you are someone who hears yourself in my words, like you are like, yeah, I do some of these things. I am the savior. I am doing these things, right? I am trying to rescue everybody and mitigate people's feelings and emotions. There's nothing wrong with you, okay? I need you to know that. There is nothing wrong with you. This is normal. This is what we do to survive. This is just part of our wiring from our nervous system and our brain's programming. But there are better ways. There are easier ways. There's things that we do automatically, like in zombie mode or automated, right? Or we can do things intentionally with purpose, with meaning, that not only help us, but also help others. So I hope this episode has been helpful to you. And again, like I said before, if you want to reach out to me, you can schedule a free 30-minute root cause call. You could join our Radiate and Rise community where there's a lot of like-minded women and we support each other, and I do coaching in there. Because you're not responsible for making the holidays perfect for everybody else. You are responsible for not abandoning yourself, though. So this December, maybe shift a little bit. Maybe decide you don't need to rescue everybody. Maybe take on some boundaries and some rest and some safety, some nervous system safety that you deserve, and enjoy your holidays. Thanks for being here. I'll talk to you next week.